Rams back and then watch a 30-3 victory for the Texas A&M Aggies against your team, knowing that you have South Carolina taking on Clemson next week, maybe to 4-8. You're going, it's just one of those seasons. But overall, there is so much to talk about in the NFL right now. Crunch time with contenders to pretenders in the playoff run in college football. The College Football Playoff Committee will make their second selection tomorrow night, or third selection tomorrow night, and it'll be very intriguing as to see after Alabama and how they look at the team going forward without Tua. And our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody. You never want to see a kid go down like that. Joining us from the NFL sidelines to right here at the ESPN Pensacola studios, Coach K. Stevenson. Coach, so much to talk about. Congratulations to our UWF Argos. You talked to Coach Shinnick.
Absolutely.
Huge win right there. They're heading back to the playoffs. We were down there. It was a great game. I think everybody made the right decision on the team except for me, wearing shorts down there by the sidelines on Saturday night, getting to talk to Dan Shugart and all the folks. But I'll tell you, Coach, it is an exciting time for football right now and a lot to get to in the NFL and college.
You betcha. And I'll tell you the thing that jumps out right now, which is a sad thing, is what happened in Alabama with Tua. I hate to see that. And I'll be honest with you, from a selfish standpoint, anybody would be crazy not to have looked forward to another game between LSU and Alabama. I mean, what a football game. And but now with Tua and the way it happened and all. And let's talk about that for just a minute, because I think it deserves a complete discussion. We maybe don't have time in the hour to go through everything, but I have heard some things which really make me sick with the media, to be honest with you.
We have a bleep button if you want to say. I'm just kidding.
They really do. And they're talking about, and everybody's at fault, and what could have happened, what should have happened. Let's just take a look at reality here. Alabama had the game with Mississippi State. Things are going really, really well. Tua had just bombed them. And obviously he was only going to play the first half of the ball game. There's some debate as to whether he should have played at all. But when you think about that, stop and think about the fact that if he's not going to play against Mississippi State, what about the next week against Western Kentucky? And then the following week is against Auburn. And there you've had the kid out for 3 or 4 weeks that he hasn't played. Have you taken the edge off of him? Very easily could. You cannot just sit somebody down and expect them to keep that edge. I think he had to play sometime during that period. Anytime he could have gotten hurt. If he's on the field, he could have gotten hurt. Now, you'd love to have him out of that 2-minute situation, but that was to end the half. They made the decision that was probably the best practice time that he would get in a 2-minute situation, 2-minute offense before playing Auburn. So they put him out there and he got hurt. I don't blame anybody for that. You can't. I do not blame anybody for the decision to put him out there on the field. You just, hindsight's 20/20, and you wish. I know that they wish he hadn't done it. Think about all the other people, and I'll tell you what, it really goes deep. Think about the NCAA, how it affects the playoffs. Think about how it affects the fan. Think about how it affects television. You don't think television? They're crying in their beer this morning because of this. Because having a Tua along with a Burrow, and obviously Clemson, and in there with those quarterbacks meant a heck of a lot. So I don't know. You just got to put everything on the table.
You're right, Coach, and it's easy to look back now. It's easy to make your point when something. It's like those plays where it's fourth down. For instance, the Philadelphia Eagles and New England Patriots Super Bowl. It's easy to say what a great play call where they flipped it to Nick Foles and they do a reverse and it's a touchdown because it worked. If that ball gets sacked, if a guy comes around the corner and Gilmore sacks Foles and they fumble and they take it back to the house because you have a quarterback out in the flats trying to catch the ball, he gets picked, they take it back to the house, we'd be talking about the stupidest play in the history of football. That's how it works. And, right down the road, I want to put it for anybody that said that, because I had a couple people say that, and I get the point. I get where they say that. I don't agree with it. I'm on your side on this. I do, because right down the road, as Clemson, who knows, they don't even need brownie points. Alabama actually needs to dominate their opponents over the next couple weeks. So pretty much the eye test says, you know what? Jeez, they just beat Mississippi State by 60 points. How are you going to leave this team out? So they need to convince, especially that the committee had Georgia ahead of them in this week's poll, Clemson right down the road, who needs no brownie points. They know they win and they're in. The defending champions. Wake Forest was their biggest test, and they beat them 52-3. Whopped, just completely annihilated them. And you had Trevor Lawrence playing until the fourth quarter, and then they put Hunter Bryce in. So if Trevor Lawrence got hurt when they were up 45-0, why would anybody say anything different in that case? He was in the game. He just so happened did not get hurt, as we hope, to all the other quarterbacks. So you can slice the story whatever way you want.
There are tons of examples, even just Saturday, other than this one. Football is a collision sport. It's not a contact sport. Dancing is a contact sport. This is something that could happen at any time. And any time you put somebody who's not used to running with the football under their arms out there, you're subject to an injury. Now, here's the other sad thing for Tua. In the National Football League, and I've said to you, and you've heard me say before, we used to have the two-strike rule. Be careful. 3 strikes and you're out on injury. If somebody gets hurt once, it's a shame. Get hurt twice, coincidence. It's a shame, but it's a coincidence. Get hurt 3 times, it may be injury prone. Look out. Now, in the last, I forget how many games, not that many, he has had 4 surgeries. 4 surgeries. That's tough. That's tough to overcome. And what is happening there is they have to take account of that for the draft. You'd be foolish not to. And then what could happen, one of 2 things. Either he really slips down, which cost the kid and his family a ton of money, or there's one scenario that could work out for him that would be good. To go later in the draft, he may get a chance to be drafted by a good football team, not a bad football team, okay? Could go to a good football team, have a couple of years to heal and learn, and then be with a good football team to play the rest of his career. That could be a good scenario for him.
Sort of like Rodgers did at Green Bay at the time.
Yeah.
The old Green Bay, okay.
Yeah.
I think that's fair, and I just hope he's, no matter what you think, because we're realistic with we hear the noise. I go out there every Sunday and I wear my Patriots gear and everybody walks by and you understand that in a heartbeat you would take a Nick Saban or you would take a Belichick. Usually when people have hate for a team, the Yankees, the Bronx Bombers, all those years, it's because they want to be that team.
Yeah.
And the difference, Coach, is you look right now at what a guy like Tua is all about. People, if you're not for Alabama, you're sort of against them because you're sick of seeing them win 5 rings and all the things they've had. But I hope nobody roots against Tua as a kid. He seems to be a bright kid, always praises God, respects his teammates. Look, him and Jalen Hurts, there's a reason. Jalen Hurts is a good kid, but there was a reason Jalen Hurts had Tua's back. It's because they got along. Yeah. If you had one of those guys up there talking the talk and being all about, like, I beat you for the job kind of way, they wouldn't have got along, and Jalen would have wanted to get out right away. They have the respect factor. So to see a kid like that go down, that's more than Alabama, that has a chance to go on to have a bright future, become a star of the NFL, it's a sad day to see something like that.
Well, it really is, and I think we've covered what we've tried to do here off the bat. Everybody's aware of this. I think most people are very concerned about it. Number one, they're not happy that anything like this happened. Number two, and we needed to discuss and what are the different scenarios. One is very obvious, but there are some other things that could happen. Maybe long shots, but there's one scenario that could happen that could be very good for him. So that depends on a complete recovery and some other things. But he is going to drop in the draft. There's no question about that. He's going to go down considerably. I would think a good football team that has nothing to lose and an older quarterback, okay, could draft him later in the draft. It could end up being a good situation for him. So let's look at it that way. And I mean, I'm sick about it.
Yeah.
I'm not through watching him play in college.
And, Coach, as you know, playing quarterback at the highest level, I played at a level in high school the coach probably shouldn't have put me in. But at least we know at this point where you get a lot of that power and to make you a great player from your hips. You see Dak Prescott warming up with the hip, Nick Bosa making jokes about it, and, having fun with it. They're dancing down the sidelines. But that hip action, you get your power from that motion, where a high ankle sprain can hurt, and it's going to be detrimental to your movement, your lateral movement, escaping the pocket. But from a standpoint of making the great throws, those throws that he did against Georgia were just on a dime. He could throw that perfectly 40 yards down the field, perfectly to Devontae Smith. That you get a lot of that power from your hips, and
Absolutely
he might not ever have that kind of power again. I mean, it could. We're hoping. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to speculate today, but hopefully that he's still going to be able to be Tua and not just the shell of what he once was. Looking at some of the other things going on right here, Coach, I want to get into the NFL. We'll get to more on college football as well. Looking at this week's game, one game, I got a tip of the cap to the way, and you've been really praising them how they played, but the Minnesota Vikings, it was a game where it was one of those sort of, if you weren't paying attention, because not everybody was watching the Denver Broncos and Minnesota Vikings, but you look up at the clock, it was 20-0. I was at a birthday party afterwards. I had to go to Leighton's birthday party, and then for her friend, and was at the NFL tailgate show last night, and I remember watching that and saying, wow, how is the score even 20-0 Denver?
21-0.
21-0 Denver in Minnesota, where it's hard to play, but Kirk Cousins and the Vikings battled back. That was one of the true signs where, to me, that's bigger than winning a game 31-10. It showed that you're up against the ropes and they still battled back. A huge win for the Vikings.
Absolutely. The Vikings are a good football team. I've said this from day one. Not only that, but Cousins is a good quarterback. Now, there's some people who don't buy that story. They like to demean Cousins and his ability as a quarterback. I think they're wrong, and I think you may find out before the year's over just how wrong they are.
Some of the other, as we go through four-down territory here, let's start off with first down. Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson was made into a huge game right there. Lamar Jackson of Baltimore pulling away in the second half. Coach, he's an incredible athlete making great plays, and currently right now I think the MVP is going to come down to Jackson and Russell Wilson, the way they're playing. 41-7 win. Big matchup, and, two quarterbacks that they got talked about a lot this week, but Lamar Jackson obviously shined in this one.
Oh, he did, and he just shows that athletic ability every time they suit him up, and my goodness, what he can do as an athlete. And, I've seen a lot of good ones, and I don't claim to be the one person who has seen them all by a long shot, but I've seen some good ones. And he's an outstanding, not just an outstanding, he's a great athlete. As I said, he could play any position. I think he could play virtually any skill position on the field, running back, receiver, quarterback, DB, be a great safety. Could possibly even be a corner. But he's that good an athlete. So give him credit. Now, what they're doing, and we could talk about this all day, what they're doing is lining up in formations that most pro teams have not done over the years. And they're forcing defenses to play a certain way. That's all to their advantage right now. When the time comes, it could be a problem for them when they have to spread out and throw the football to exist. Right now, they don't have to do that. They play an entire game with 3 tight ends and a back in the ball game. Unheard of.
It is. And that's one of the great parts about football. People always think that their theory's right on football, but you can have Cliff Kingsbury and some teams running a spread offense up and down the field, 4 wide, move the football like you see with Mike Leach, or you can run a wishbone at Navy, Army, some of the military academies, and that's all part of the game, is creating that. Baltimore has created a game plan where it fits the mold of Lamar Jackson, but Lamar still has to make the plays, but it shouldn't be unnoticed that 16 of the 20 catches yesterday and the 5 top receivers were running backs and tight ends in that game. And they're big targets, and he's finding them, and he's making plays outside the pocket. And I'm surprised more teams don't go to those tight ends if you watch the way Mark Andrews and Hunter Hurst play. Coach, I want to get to second down here as we take a look here at the Atlanta Falcons. They're back looking like the Atlanta Falcon team a lot of us thought at the beginning of the season, and they've outscored 2 opponents in their division on the road 26-9 and 29-3 over the last 2 weeks. They've held Carolina and New Orleans scoreless in the touchdown department. That's unheard of from an Atlanta defense that a couple weeks ago was allowing 52 points in an NFL football game. Coach, it's one thing to say about Matt Ryan just saying, you know what, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take all the weight on my shoulders and go out there. That's not what's happening. Dan Quinn is a defensive mind. We saw him. He was really the catalyst behind the Legion of Boom when he was out there with Seattle and Pete Carroll's team. And they're getting healthier. They're playing well. Is this enough to save Dan Quinn's job? They're 3-7. It doesn't look like playoffs are going to happen this year, but is this enough to save and show bright signs that, okay, you know what, we had a slip-up season, but we're going to be much better next year?
Well, I say let's do this. Let's wait and see. We don't have to make a decision right now, nor should we, nor should anybody. Let's wait and see. There's a lot more to do in the season. What if Atlanta runs the table from now on? Would you fire the coach?
No, because
Absolutely
you can't get a better coach than that for next year.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even come close to it. So why would you fire him now when there's still those games to play, when he might run them? The possibility's there. Not likely, but the possibility's there. Listen, they have got buku talent on offense. Maybe a little better talent on defense now that they've gotten some people well. But I do know one thing. They're talented offensively and can move the ball on anybody. I like Ryan, the quarterback. I think they've got some real pluses. So my word would be just, hey, be happy if you're an Atlanta fan or an owner. Be happy that what's going on right now. You don't have to make a decision. Wait, see what happens at the end of the year.
Season started week 10. Dan Quinn would be the NFL Coach of the Year. And you would have Matt Ryan being the MVP and the defense being looked at as the way we looked at San Francisco at the beginning of the season, the way they played 2 weeks. So give them a little bit of time. But that was the one team. Look, the Cincinnati Bengals, they stink. Oh, we understand that. You have some teams out there, the Miami Dolphins, they're not that good. But there are other teams. Washington Redskins, I thought, did you see that, by the way, the video? I mean, Dwayne Haskins is not going to be a long-time NFL quarterback. I understand that. But did you see him going up to his offensive line yesterday? He walked up to his offensive line. He said, this is pretty funny, Coach. He goes, what can I do for you? What can I do to help you guys out here do something for me? Is there anything that you guys want? And they got it because there's 15 cameras on the sidelines. But I thought it was hilarious. He got in front of all 5 guys that weighed probably the size of a school bus and gets in front of them and goes, guys, what do I need to do to have you actually protect me for 5 seconds?
Well, Christmas is coming up, you know.
Get him some good. Well, I don't know if he can afford it because he won't be there too much. He can't put any of that money in too far into savings because I don't know how much is going to be coming up into the next couple of years for Haskins. But I'm telling you, yeah, that's pretty funny. You know that moment. I hope that hits them, though, because it's one thing he looks bad, but when every play you're dropping back and you got 3 guys breathing down your neck, it's not fun for any rookie.
No, it's tough. You know, let's look at another situation too. We could talk about all these more here as time goes on today, but and we're loaded with material here to get to. But one of the things that we really have to get to, I think, is San Francisco. Now, a good example. Last week, the media was ecstatic because they could jump on San Francisco. They lost a ball game, and Garoppolo didn't have his best game. It was perfect for the media, perfect for some people on this network that just loved it and took advantage of criticizing quite handily them and their quarterback. Well, they come back and actually he really kind of put them on his back this week. And San Francisco came back with a huge win.
Did it without George Kittle, too, their number one target.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a big win there. So much to get to on the game from Philadelphia and New England. We'll talk some more after the Indianapolis Colts. Nick Foles coming back. It was going to be that marquee matchup, and your former quarterback, and it really looks up to you in so many ways. Frank Reich is a guy that went out there and proved, hey, just when you thought Indy last week, maybe against Miami, that they were not a contender, looking like they turned it around. And that's a team, if you play them in the playoffs, because of that physical grind, I wouldn't want to see Indy, the way that they battle. They're never going to stop, but that's how Frank and Coach, has always been. So
exactly.
We'll get to more on that. We'll talk all the big games in college. Congrats to the Georgia Bulldogs. Big win right there against Auburn, and a big victory in Jordan-Hare. And we'll get to more on the college football playoff scenario coming up here. It's all coming back on Talk Football with Coach K.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
Pros, start with Lowe's for Black Friday deals to save on the brands you trust to do the job right. Stop in today and get your choice of a DeWalt 20-volt max cordless brushless drill or a DeWalt 2-pack of 20-volt power tool batteries, each just $99. And pick up a pass-load angled 3.5-inch 30-degree cordless framing nailer for $100 less, now just $299. Whatever's on your wish list or gift list this Black Friday, do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Offers valid 11/21 through 11/27, U.S. only.
It's time for some straight talk. You know those football players who are all talk, no show? Well, big wireless carriers aren't much different. Well, Straight Talk Wireless doesn't give you the hype, just the savings. For just $45 a month, you'll get the unlimited plan with 25 gigs of high-speed data, then 2G. No contract. All on the same 4G LTE networks as the big guys, but up to half the cost. Savings delivered right to your wallet. Only at Walmart. Savings may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
The Paul Feinbaum Show.
Everything you wanted to happen hasn't happened.
Oh, my gosh. That's all any of y'all want to talk about is Alabama.
You're really not understanding the conversation, but anyway, we can move on.
Alabama's dynasty has just begun.
Hold on a second, Charles. Somebody wants to talk to you.
I don't want to talk that compelling moron.
He's nothing but a lame-head old man.
2 till 5 every weekday afternoon. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
You're out of your freaking mind, cow turd.
You're listening to Pensacola's home for hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
And welcome back. It is Talk Football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM across 4 states in the Panhandle. If you're out and about, remember, you're heading to Biloxi, you're heading to New Orleans, the Saints game this weekend. You can always catch us right here all the way from pretty much New Orleans to over by Crestview each and every afternoon. So thank you for being part of the show. So much to get to with our former NFL coach, Kay Stevenson. Coach, looking at the matchup right there, last night, I want to get to this because it was a hard to watch a lot of plays, but the LA Rams and Chicago Bears went from, at one point, 2 teams that were looked at as not only playoff teams, but actual legit title contenders. The Rams had gone all the way last year and got to the Super Bowl game. They were right there, and then Chicago had the defense to get it done. They're really missing Akeem Hicks. You can tell in the middle. He was a catalyst. It didn't get a lot of love. He was down here at Andrews, got to talk to him about 2 months ago. But he was the kind of guy that they really needed to bolster the middle, and they're missing him. But I got to tell you, Jared Goff and Mitch Trubisky, now he left the game, quote, with an injury. At this point, though, is it okay to say that the Bears are ready to cut ties with him going forward?
No,
okay.
not yet. Now, I've got some real questions about him. But now also keep in mind with the game last night, we're talking about the 2 coaches of the year last year.
Yeah.
Both. One on the NFC and one on the AFC.
Play calls didn't look like that last night.
Yeah.
But
anyway, it was not a pretty sight. And Trubisky, I thought, had gotten back to his feet were together trying to throw the football. He's throwing off balance. He's discombobulated, for lack of a better term, back there behind the on his drops, and didn't really look to me that he didn't really know where he wanted to go with the football. That's an absolute no-no with a quarterback. Of course, your quarterback better know where he's going with the football, and preferably from a pre-snap look, he knows where he's going. That was not the case with Trubisky. Los Angeles, I told you last year it was only a matter of time, and the Patriots laid out a blueprint for how to beat them, but it was only a matter of time before that those two-man patterns and all we're gonna come back to haunt them because people were a little smarter than that. But anyway, be that as it may, neither quarterback played up to par. I think you're right, and both were very hesitant about some things.
Well, getting set to go tomorrow will be the college football playoff rankings, and it should be exciting to see who's up there in the top 4 and the way that they're going to judge. Remember, this is a committee. As of what we know, they're not robots, and Will Smith's not trying to save the world. It looks like at this point you've got LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, and Georgia that are all there in the mix. That is in the coaches poll and AP. For the first time in 7 weeks, Coach, the AP and coaches poll top 4 is exactly the same. It is LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, and Georgia. Now, based on that, Auburn didn't do anybody any favors when it comes to Alabama and winning that game. And frankly, if you looked at the end result, good battle. Good job by Auburn battling back. But Georgia, once again, just like Florida, let's be clear, they're the better football team. They're the better football team. They got better athletes. They're playing their best football now. Jake Fromm is starting to get more comfortable with the receiving core at the beginning of the season with all new guys, and you can tell that on the field. But, Coach, any problem with LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, and Georgia as your top 4 this week?
Oh, no, not at all. In fact, if they have Ohio State number 1, LSU number 2, that's fine, too. I mean, they're interchangeable there, I think. No problem with those. I think between you and me and this radio audience, I will say to you that I know there's some great Auburn fans out there and Georgia fans. I like this Georgia football team, but I don't think that either Auburn or Georgia, the 2 teams we saw play, I don't think those 2 teams, either one of those teams, could beat a good on-spot LSU or Alabama team. Okay.
I agree. I mean, I always respect the heck out of what you say, and I think that I think Georgia's getting to the point because of their defense where they can compete with anyone in the nation. I really do believe. Remember, they were only a few plays away from winning the national title last year, or getting there with the way they played against Alabama toe for toe. Coach, their offensive line and defense is good enough to beat anyone in the country. There are some question marks whether they could go toe-to-toe with an Ohio State and LSU and be able to score with them right now, because they've showed that. Their offense doesn't put up big numbers, but defensively, if they're playing the right game plan, everybody talk about how do you stop Joe Burrow. You really don't, But it's going to take an incredible defense to at least have a shot. And to me, the only two teams that can show that are Georgia and Ohio State. Now, I'd put Ohio State and LSU ahead of Georgia, but I truly believe the way they're playing, and not the early season Georgia, but the last 4 weeks Georgia, that they're a legit contender to win it all. I truly believe that right now.
I think they're better. I agree in the last 4 weeks, but I still don't think that either one of those teams are better than the two at full strength, LSU and Alabama. I just think there are too many ways that they would be put in a position that they had to score more than they're capable of scoring.
Well, it seems like once again, Coach, no matter what, it looks like Georgia is going to have to get to play their playoff game before the actual playoff, because every year it seems, and a lot of people call it, the national championship part one, because it always seems, so they play Alabama this year, Georgia and LSU, so they'll get to prove it, and then they might have to play LSU again down the road, but Georgia will get another shot before that.
Georgia's going to play LSU probably in the SEC championship game. So we'll see there.
It's going to be exciting. Coach, I want to look at a couple other things. Because of the injury to Tua, that should directly affect the way we look at Alabama's chances. I mean, they still have to go out and beat Auburn. But even if Mac Jones goes out there and beats Auburn, do we have to look, and as the committee, as human beings, say, without Tua, this team isn't a top 4 team in the nation?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, if they're looking at things like style points, which I think kind of ridiculous to make a major point out of that, but evidently it is, then certainly they're going to look at whether this kid – but they're also going to look at the relative strength of defenses, which could hurt some people. Now, but to answer your question directly, I don't have any question about it. And I'll tell you who's really sick about it are the networks or the TVs. The TV network that has the playoffs, they got to be sick about it.
Coach, on the West Coast right now, Oregon and Utah are just destroying teams. Now, it looks like they're both based on they're going to have to play each other in that Pac-12 championship game set up right now, both 9-1. You look at the way that they're winning, though. Over the last 5 games between Oregon and Utah, they're beating their opponents that aren't great, but still USC's, Arizona's names. I mean, that's all I can say there. They're beating them by an average of 28 points per game against Pac-12 foes. At this point, should they be looked at, the winner of Oregon and Utah, probably will finish the season 12-1 after that game, should they be looked at as one of those Final Four spots?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I was talking with somebody, an ex-football reporter, over the weekend, and he's on the West Coast, lives in California, and he feels that there'll be have an inside track for the playoffs, the winner of that game, and feels like Oregon may really have a leg up because people are going to like their quarterback.
Yes, and on top of that, too, the quarterback's going to sell, because if you can get that matchup, people will be engaged. We love to hype the quarterback, so every draft stock, everybody will hype it up as this could be the number 1 pick. Imagine if Oregon, if LSU wins out, they'll get the number 1 seed, being the top dog in the SEC, regardless of how good Ohio State. We can all feel Ohio State's the best team. If LSU, just saw Jeremy's face in the hallway when I said that about Ohio State, but if you have, right now, if you have LSU win out with the schedule they have, they'll get the number 1 spot, which will set up an LSU versus Oregon. If Oregon was to get in, they would get the 4 spot. I don't think they will today, but if they did, and you would get Burrow versus Herbert. And who wouldn't want to see that? Every pundit, every NFL team would say, all right, let's see who's number one. Now that Tua's hurt, and God bless, I hope he gets better. He seems like a good kid, good family.
Yeah, absolutely.
But right now, it's now Herbert and Burrow. Who's the number one player? And that would be a great matchup that everybody would want to see. And guess what? It's about making money. And no matter what anyone says, it's about selling the hype.
It's big for the committee, so you can bet Oregon would have a leg up there.
And last time I checked, Coach, who's that guy in charge of the committee? He's the athletic director from where?
Yeah, from Oregon. But you got to remember now, the guy I was talking to knows a little bit about football. He's a good guy. I've known him for many years. Kevin Doyle, who used to be publisher of the Pensacola News-Journal here. One time he was in town, and we were spending some time together. And he's very emphatic about the fact that that Oregon, he thinks, has the inside track on this. We'll see. But
well, I think the Big 12 has played their way out because you didn't leave what we've left with and Atlanta Falcon fans are watching that when they have to keep bringing up 28-3 this week. But Baylor was up 28-3 on Oklahoma right there. And truly, frankly, Coach, there's two things. You go unbeaten in a Power 5 conference. This isn't UCF and my fun with putting billboards up in towns. I joke with people. That lady didn't think it was funny at Publix in an Alabama hat that hit me with her shopping cart. But at the same time, Coach, I truly believe if you go undefeated in Power 5, you should not be left out, and you won't be left out. So if Baylor would have continued to win against Oklahoma, Texas, all those teams down the stretch, they would have got in even if we felt like they didn't deserve it. Mm-hmm. They were up 28-3 on Oklahoma, and people were saying, maybe we underestimated this team. Yeah. And then Oklahoma comes back and win, which frankly wasn't a win for either team in the eyes of the beholder. Because I don't think anybody looked at that game then and said, I want one of those two teams in the playoff. And that's what it might come down to for them. And it wasn't a good look for the Big 12.
Yeah, no, not at all. Just emphasize the lack of defense, and that's where I meant some people are going to be left out.
And it's going to come down to now, and you got to think about that. The final spot at this point, we know Clemson is on a path when their toughest team was against Wake Forest, and they just walloped them by 50 in their division. Let's just coast them at this point. Let's not waste time and put Clemson in one of those spots. Ohio State, the way Minnesota lost, the way Penn State played in a battle against Indiana at home, Ohio State clearly right now is the best team. However, Michigan, Ohio State, there always is that hope. I mean, that's going to be the big rivalry game, Coach, and that's going to be one of those matchups where I'm looking forward to that as Michigan, Ohio State is one that is now on the radar.
I think it should be a heck of a, and it's at the Big House if they're ever going to do it. This would be the year to do it.
Yeah, and for anybody in Big Ten country saying, hey, we got to play this game, we deserve. Look, LSU gets those games every week when they play. They're going to have to play at Georgia. Georgia's going to have to play in LSU. These are not the kind of games where nobody feels bad that Michigan, Ohio State have to battle out. If you're Ohio State, you need to win this game. You've already proven you're good enough, but this is the statement before you get in. Mm-hmm. And at that point, it'll be pretty exciting. So at this point, there's going to be down to that one spot. And if you're an Oregon fan, because of the way Alabama now has lost Tua, which has set you up where if it comes down to you with one loss in Alabama, more people are going to talk about the conference champion than Mac Jones. And we know at this point there's two teams you need to root for if you're Oregon. You need to root for Oregon, obviously, and you need to root for LSU to take care of business. Because as long as LSU beats Georgia, that'll solidify you versus the winner of the Big 12, and at this point, or Alabama, and I think that would go to the Ducks. So a lot has changed over the last week. When we come back, we'll get to more on the NFL games. We'll talk some more on what it was, a crazy week. And like we said, with Tua having hip surgery, our thoughts go out to him. Nobody wants to see a career go down like that in a time where they were battling out for that final spot. Coming back for more, it's Talk Football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
With 16 national championships, 26 SEC championship titles, and a team that delivers so many All-American players, what do you say to that? ESPN Pensacola presents Alabama Roll Tide Radio Show on Mondays starting at 1. Hear from local experts and former players about what's going on in Tuscaloosa. Get ready and let us hear you say it. Roll Tide Roll. Join the Alabama conversation this Monday at 1 o'clock. Brought to you in part by Gordon Auto Sales.
It's happening. Wherever plays are being made, tickets are being sold, and fans are lining up. ADP is designing a better way to work. With industry-leading HR, talent, time, benefits, and payroll, more companies rely on ADP than any other HR partner to help step up their game. From small business to global enterprise. See how ADP can help you and your people achieve what you're working for at design.adp.com. ADP, always designing for people.
Algae. That murky green stuff may not seem very useful, but it could be the future of energy. That's why ExxonMobil and Synthetic Genomics are developing biofuels from algae, so that the trucks, ships, and planes that drive our economy could one day run on algae biofuels with half the greenhouse gas emissions of today's fuels, keeping transportation humming while cutting emissions. Learn more at energyfactor.com.
You're listening to Pensacola's home for hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
And welcome back. Talk football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola. Mondays are always fun in the NFL because, well, it depends what team you're. I guess I can't say that for you. If you're a Bengals fan right now, Mondays stink. Sometimes there's just that. You gotta tip. I'm gonna give them credit. The credit award this week goes to the way the Bengals defense tried. You know, they tried. You had Ryan Finley out there. It was 3 and outs left and right. But hey, Coach, they were up at halftime. They were right there with them. They were up 7-0 through about 2.5 quarters against Oakland. Not that Oakland is a team that should dominate anyone, but the try award, I think, goes to the Bengals defense this week for at least trying to get. It's hard to pour your heart out when you're that bad.
Well, that's true. That's true. And the Raiders, give the Raiders some credit. Hey,
Josh Jacobs, the real deal. What a great pickup.
Josh Jacobs is really the real deal, and they're in the hunt. Listen, they're doing a good job.
It's funny to see those Alabama players because it seems like we know that there's always 3 or 4 good running backs from Alabama everywhere you look. But currently yesterday, Coach, did you know there were 5 running backs from the Alabama Crimson Tide that got to come in and carry the ball for more than 5 carries yesterday?
No, I didn't realize that.
You got Bo Scarborough. Bo Scarborough got to play for Detroit. Mm-hmm. He came in there and got some carries. You had Mark Ingram out there for Baltimore getting his touches. You had Kenyon Drake getting his touches. You also had T.J. Yeldon, who hasn't been playing much, but he's out there And on top of that, you got Derrick Henry for Tennessee. They had a bye, so he didn't even count. Their number one guy probably didn't even count. It would have been 6. But then you also had the 2 we just talked about as well with Josh Jacobs. So, yeah, that 5 guys running out there, and it's crazy to think they always have some good ones all over that field. Looking right now at the NFL tonight. Now, you got to play out there in L.A. for the Rams, and you've been around that stadium, Coach, and you know the team. And looking right now, the L.A. Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Meant the Chargers there. You got the Chargers and the Chiefs battling out tonight. And the good news for the Chargers is this game is in Mexico City, so they'll have more home fans.
Yeah, it's in Mexico City, which I hope turns out okay. They tried to play one down there already this year.
Better than their home stadium right now for their fan base, I'm saying. From how many guys will how many Charger fans will show up?
I don't know. I don't know. It could be more
Mahomes.
Kansas City fans. You never know. Right then.
Did you think anything from what we saw with Phillip Rivers? Because I've been a Phillip Rivers fan, the way he's played, but his offensive line is hurt. They don't look right now like the same team. Is there any chance they go up and they get this win against Kansas City tonight?
Always a chance. Any NFL game, there's always a chance that either team could win it. And I think they probably put in quite a bit of study on this Kansas City team. They probably have picked up quite a bit from New England against them, and I think they're going to play them well. I may be wrong, but I really think they're going to play them well.
And I know Patrick Mahomes has been hurt, but let me just go down the last couple victories or games had been decided. Everybody always jumps on that this team for Kansas City is unstoppable, unbeatable. I want to go down these scores real quick to let you know that the way that they were deemed at the beginning of the season now, and I know a couple of these are Matt Moore games, but just listen, folks. 3-point loss to the Titans. 3-point win against Minnesota. 7-point loss to the Packers. A victory, they dominated Denver 30-6, and that was with Matt Moore and a team where they're just a bad team. 7-point loss to the Texans. 6-point loss to the Colts. 4-point win, and these games are with Mahomes, people. 4-point win against Detroit. 5-point win against Baltimore. These are not dominant. These are not none of the days of Kansas City beating teams by 30. They haven't done that this year. So let's pump the brakes on this team being the best teams and Mahomes beating teams by 100 points. It's not happening this year.
Yeah, well, that's true. And we tried to talk a little caution last year, but it didn't do any good. We had him greatest of all times. Now he's having to hold that position against the kid from Baltimore, and by the end of the season, somebody else will be pushing him for that. So, the greatest of all time, really, if you left the sports commentators, left it in their hands, we'd have one different one every month.
Yes, and that being said, this isn't a let's bash Mahomes. We both think he's an elite quarterback. But it's just the team overall. Let's stop judging a quarterback immediately to the overall team, because the team itself in Kansas City is not that great of a football team outside of him. I mean, it's an okay football team with a pretty good quarterback.
They've got a lot of speed, and they've got a good coach who knows how to organize and come up schematically with a game plan.
But I don't think they're a contender.
Not hard
this year,
to say right now, because the AFC is not.
It's true. Because the Pats team's not that great outside of Brady, too.
The Pats aren't that great this year, and I don't see how they're going to be able to improve that receiving core between now and the end of the year. Maybe there's somebody out there that they can end up picking up, but it's got to be somebody off the street because the trade deadline's up. So
it's vital to get home field this year, Coach. That's New England always. That's always the case. But I was talking to 5 or 6 New England Patriot fans down there at World of Beer for the Eagles game, and it was pretty clear. If the Pats get home field, watch out, they'll probably go to the Super Bowl. If somebody like Baltimore is able to sneak up and get that spot, then it could be wide open. And I think that's the way. I mean, it sounds so easy, but I'm telling you, to me, that's as simple as it gets. That's going to be the blueprint of who goes out of the AFC. If the Pats get home field, they're in. If they don't, then at this point, pending injuries, it would be open. To me, that's how the.
Well, I have to disagree with you to a certain extent. By saying this year, I don't think anything's pat down. I think it's wide open.
Okay.
I mean, I can't Tell me the best team in the AFC. Tell me the best team in the AFC right now.
I mean, I would say just based on that, I mean, right this second it would be Baltimore, but I don't think that would be long term. I'm not saying for the season, right today. And you could say the best team in the NFC, no joke. I know this sounds absurd. Best team in the NFC right now could be Atlanta. Right this second. I mean, they beat and if anybody goes, has this guy been drinking before? No, it's
could be Seattle, could be Minnesota. Could be a number of people in the NFC.
Yeah,
but in the AFC, it's not clearly defined right now. There's still too many portraits that need more paint on them. Okay,
yes.
And it's just not clear right now as to who is there and who's not. And I don't think the Pats are any sure. They've got they're obviously the best constructed team, so that gives them an advantage. They do have an advantage now with wins. They got to keep it. I think your point is home field is going to be huge for them. But I don't think anybody's a shoe-in right now. Could be anybody. Could be a wild card coming out of the AFC this year. If anybody has a chance to come from last to first, or the wild card through the Super Bowl is this year in the AFC.
And it looks like Bucs coach Bruce Arians believes Jameis Winston will be fine to play against Atlanta this week after the ankle injury. He went on to say, yeah, we got to put that guy in the field. No, he didn't say that. But at this point, that's what I think we're thinking. Jameis Winston, by the way, is with all the famous Jameis talk, not so famous these days, he's about to set the record for most interceptions. He has 18 at this point of the season. That ties Jay Cutler for the most of any player through 10 games. So not looking good right now for Jameis. That's not a stat you want up on your mantle.
No, you don't want that one. No. Wow.
Jay Cutler would be fine to give it away, I think. Coach, when we come back, we'll get to more on some of the highlights of the weekend that was and talk some more college football. It's right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Dude, it's game day, and I'm fired up that football is back.
I know, but I'm bummed they don't show my favorite team on TV around here.
All right, well, what about that place Calvert's? They're a really cool English pub-style restaurant, and they have a really good drink menu.
Yeah, but what about the game?
Don't worry, they have the NFL Sunday ticket and plenty of TVs, so we can watch any game that we want.
Ooh, I just looked at the menu, and that Abbey Road burger is calling my name.
Calvert's in the Heights Restaurant and Bar, 3102 East Urbana Street, calvertsintheheights.com.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range, Highway 29 in Car City.
If you're a small business owner, there's no better place to find the impact hire to help your business than LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs takes the time to learn more about who you're looking for and then recommends qualified candidates from their community of engaged and career-minded people, candidates who you likely won't be able to reach anywhere else. The truth is, over 70% of the U.S. workforce is on LinkedIn, and posting your job on LinkedIn gives you the best chance of finding and starting a conversation with your next star recruit. It's no surprise a new hire is made every 8 seconds using LinkedIn. So build your winning team by posting a job on LinkedIn and visit linkedin.com/sports to get $50 off your first job post. That's linkedin.com/sports for $50 off your first job post. linkedin.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
You're listening to Pensacola's home for hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
And welcome back. Final segment of Talk Football goes now right here on ESPN Pensacola with former NFL coach Kay Stevenson. And what a crazy weekend it was. Our thoughts go out with Tua Tagovailoa. We'll talk some more on that game coming up here on Roll Tide Radio from 1 to 2 as we'll get some news from Nick Saban after the victory right there. It's going to be it's one that hurt him in two ways. You don't want to see Tua go out if you're a fan, and also, as a committee, it looks like on the outside looking in, even with Georgia's victory this week, you had to feel pretty comfortable. If Georgia loses, as they will be an underdog in that game more than likely, it's a couple weeks away. But if Georgia were to lose to LSU with 2 losses, they'd be out of the scenario. So then it would come down to an Oklahoma, an Oregon or Utah, or an Alabama, frankly, for that 4th spot. Because Clemson, Ohio State, and it looks like, So, Coach, at this point, though, with the brownie points, if it had to go between Oregon, Utah, or even Oklahoma against Alabama, they still have to beat an Auburn down the road in the Iron Bowl. That's not going to be that simple, especially with Mac Jones. But that hurts him in two ways. It hurts Tua, and it also hurts Alabama's path to get back. And it's just a disappointing overall moment right there.
Well, it is, and nobody's feels any worse about Tua's injury than I do. But also, let's don't discredit, discount Mac Jones, because listen, this kid when he's had to play, he's played well. There's probably no better coaching staff for wrapping a game plan around what he does and helping him out, and then you've got some players and skilled people that can make some things happen. All he's got to do is get him the football, and they'll have little schemes devised, Chad, that will allow him to get them the football quick, and then it'll be their skill against their opponent. I think he's going to play and play well. I really do.
Coach, the Florida Gators get a 23-6 victory over Missouri. We haven't talked about them much. It wasn't a game. Jeff Davis always says that going to Missouri and Columbia is not much. It's just an old stadium. It doesn't have much of that SEC feel to it. And Florida goes in there and just pulls a Florida grinded out type win, 23-6. But you had to be impressed with your Gators and the way that they just continue to find ways in so many different types of ways to beat up on teams this year.
Yeah, I was very impressed with them going in and just getting the win. They had to do it and come out with just a few little bumps and bruises, nothing serious. Trash continued to look good at the quarterback position, continued to give them a sound, solid, stable quarterback position, not many peaks and valleys in his play, pretty steady. So I think they're on the path to something pretty good here.
Only got about a minute, but Michigan and Notre Dame both dominating their opponents. If season was to start today, should they be looked at contenders the way they're playing now?
I think you'd probably have to look at Michigan. I'm not certain about Notre Dame. I did early in the year, but I think they just got they lost a lot of that.
Yeah, and nobody wants to see somebody take it out on the military. Come on, be nice to the military. Yes, Coach, looking forward to talking to you coming up here on Roll Tide Radio, and thanks again to all your great sponsors, 11 Papantonio Law Firm, Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range, our folks over at Bob Tyler Toyota, Hill Kelly Dodge, and also Calvert's in the Heights, which we'll do our Pick'ems contest this week, and we'll tell you about the game tomorrow on the show. Coach, once again, thank you again.
You bet.
All right, coming back for more. It's Roll Tide Radio.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. I'm Davis Allen with your sports headlines. A big win for UWF at home as they took down the West Alabama Tigers 48-37, clinching a spot in the playoffs, and it was announced yesterday that the UWF Argos are going to be taking on Wingate College in the first round of the Division II football playoffs. That game will be this Saturday with pregame show starting at 10:30 a.m. with the kickoff following at 11. And you can hear Will Kennedy on the call on ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM. 99.1 FM. In the NFL, a handful of NFL playoff contenders came away with big wins on Sunday. The Baltimore Ravens crushing the Houston Texans 41-7 behind 4 touchdowns from Lamar Jackson. The Dallas Cowboys bounced back to beat the Detroit Lions 35-27. The Saints handling the Bucs 34-17, and the New England Patriots edging out the Philadelphia Eagles 17-10. Vikings, they were down, but they rallied back to defeat the Denver Broncos 27-23, and the Buffalo Bills took down the Miami Dolphins 37-20. Other scores around the NFL, the Jets take down the Redskins 34-17. The Falcons on top of the Panthers 29-3. San Francisco avoids back-to-back losses with a defeat of the Arizona Cardinals winning 36-26, and the Rams over the Chicago Bears 17-7. Tonight, Monday Night Football, it's in Mexico City as the Kansas City Chiefs take on the Los Angeles Chargers. Kansas City comes in with 6 wins and 4 losses, while the Chargers enter the game 4-6. In Division I college football, Alabama quarterback Tua Tagovailoa will undergo hip surgery today and has been ruled out for the rest of the season. Tua dislocated and fractured his hip in the Crimson Tide's 38-7 win over Mississippi State. Mac Jones replaced him, and he will likely be the starting quarterback for the remainder of the season. In NASCAR news, Kyle Busch is celebrating his second career NASCAR Cup Series championship. Busch won the title over Martin Truex Jr., who finished second in the season finale at Homestead Miami Speedway. I'm Davis Allen with your sports headlines for ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Stephen A. Smith here. If you're like me, you have a mortgage and a family who depends on your income, then you need to protect the ones you love with life insurance. Life insurance can help pay off a mortgage or send the kids to college. It's peace of mind. Think you can afford it? Chances are Select Quote can help you get it for less than $1 a day. Select Quote comparison shops up to 10 highly rated companies, including Prudential, Banner Life, and Mutual of Omaha, and others, to find you the company with the best rates. For example, Select Quote could find a 35-year-old man a $500,000 policy for under $21 a month. That's less than $1 a day. Select Quote's breakthrough technology allows them to quickly match you with the best insurance company to find your best policy. Plus, quotes are free. Start protecting your family today. Call Select Quote at 1-800-601-6992. That's 1-800-601-6992. Or go to selectquote.com/Smith.
Get full details in the example policy at selectquote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
You wanted a toy at the store when you were a kid. Mom said no. You wanted a date as a teenager. The homecoming queen said no. Now, as an adult, you want a car, and all the dealers keep saying no. Finally, there's someone in Pensacola who will say yes. It's Gordon Auto Wholesale on Old Palafox, just 1 block south of Airport Boulevard. Now with a huge selection of third-row SUVs in stock. No credit, bad credit, repos, no problem. Say yes to Gordon Auto Wholesale. Call them at 850-479-9200, 479-9200, and hear yes right now.
ESPN Radio is taking over ESPN News. You can now watch your favorite radio shows all in one place. From Golick and Wingo.
Oh, yeah.
To the Dan Levitard Show with Stugotz.
All right, I'm available every day. Thanks.
To the Stephen A. Smith Show.
I just don't understand this guy.
To the Will Kane Show.
It's my job to tell the truth.
From morning to night, the best of ESPN Radio is now available on ESPN News.
And welcome into the Roll Tide Radio Show right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Chad Brillante with you here, having some fun alongside Coach K. Stevenson, kind enough to join us, former SEC quarterback and head coach in the NFL, breaking down all the biggest stories. And for the Alabama Crimson Tide, a story that a lot of people would like not to talk about today, but it is the truth and something we have to talk about here. Our thoughts go out to Tua, his career, and the Alabama Crimson Tide going forward. After a 38-7 victory over Mississippi State, the Alabama Crimson Tide now 9-1, and it seems like this every year for Alabama. And I understand it in the NFL with New England. The difference is in college, you lose that one game, it could be the one and done. You might not be able to come back and win a title. In the NFL, you can lose a couple regular season games. Nobody really cares as long as you win the Super Bowl. For Alabama, though, this is a team that is dominated over the last decade. But you lose one single game, one single bad play, one slip-up, and it seems like the whole season's a bust. Well, the feeling was that, and then the first half, you come back out there, and you knew the storm was about to brew. Alabama was up 35-7 at halftime. It was all going good. Tua, 14 of 18, 256 yards and 2 touchdowns. Was on path for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns if he played both halves. And then the injury, the hip injury, one that is significant, especially from your throwing and the power right there, and also the rest of his career going forward. Joining us, a former quarterback at the highest level, has coached some of the great quarterbacks, Coach K. Stevenson. And Coach, we just talked about it on your show, Talk Football with Coach K, but just a disappointing injury, to say the least, in what we saw with Tua.
That it is. I'll tell you, it's disappointing in so many ways to so many people. It's hard to understand. I can tell you it's disappointing to me personally, and I know many people that it's a personal disappointment to. And then when you start thinking about the bigger picture, this is amazing. You know that the TV people are crying in their beer today because what a great scenario would have been to have LSU and Alabama play again in the national playoff. But it is what it is, and we've got to move on. I think the interesting thing about this, let's be careful. I think everybody out there should be very careful about trying to place blame on anybody for this. It happens in this game of football. And somebody said, well, he never should have been on the field against Mississippi State. Well, that's easy to say. But listen, they play Mississippi State this past Saturday. Then they're going to play Western Kentucky. I think it's Western Kentucky, somebody like that.
Western Carolina.
Western Carolina. And then the following week after that, they're going to play Auburn. So let's say that he doesn't play this week against Auburn. That's one. He doesn't play next. If you're not going to play him against Mississippi State, you're not going to play him against Western Carolina, I wouldn't think. There's 2 weeks. The third week is Auburn, and you've kept him off the playing field for 3 weeks. Timing and football reaction does not stay the same all the time. It's not like riding a bicycle. You have to continue to do it, and you have to do it at a speed that is commensurate with game speed, okay? So you keep him out of the game. Let's say you keep him out of the game for safety reasons for 3 weeks. And some of his anticipation and timing is diminished, and he's not quite the same. It could cost you a football game. So I think these people are, don't blame Saban for this. It's not somebody said, I heard somebody say, well, could have played him until that 2-minute drill and then taken him out. Well, yeah, hindsight's 20/20. But the kid wanted to go back in for the 2-minute drill, and really you want some 2-minute work before you play Auburn. So what better time to get it than right then and then take him out at halftime? I don't see anything that anybody did that was wrong. The football happened. These things happen, unfortunately, in football. You wish that it hadn't, but what would you do to prevent it? I ask you that question. As a coach, put yourself in that position. What would you do to prevent this from happening?
And frankly, too, let's be the last people to throw stones at Nick Saban or any decision he's made. Because here's the thing. If you want to be known if you want to talk about him being the greatest coach of all time, then you leave the good and the bads of what happened in a game. It's not his fault. For the people out there, you can't pick and choose your battles. You can't say, we love him, he wins all the titles, he's the best recruiter, he does he does the great 24/7. We're with him 364 days a year. But the one day where a guy gets hurt, unfortunately, that's out of his control, we want to say it was a poor decision. You can't pick and choose your battles like that. That's not fair to do. It's like if you get married or you have kids, Coach, there are going to be good days and bad days. When those stories of the guys at the wedding when everybody claps and they get off the dance floor, and the people at the end, 75 years of marriage, when you ask them, their questions are every single day was perfect. I've never heard that. I've said, God bless it. She must have, she deserves medals to stick up with me, and we joke and all the time, but that's called life. That's called reality of things. And for Nick Saban, who are we or anybody for the guy that is looked at in many people's minds as the all-time greatest coach in the history of the game, to say that it was a poor decision not to pull him on an injury right down the road, people, that Trevor Lawrence was up 52-3 and playing into the fourth as Hunter Bryce didn't come in until later in that game. So, it was an unfortunate situation that nobody saw coming. So let's not throw the coach under the bus. That's
absolutely not. No, nobody's at fault. It
just happened.
It happens in this game. It's a collision game, not a contact sport.
And especially in a game, and I know you don't agree with the demeanor of the way the committee should look at it, but it is the truth of the way the committee will look at it, is you have to get style points today. I hate it, but it's the way. I mean, if you go out there and you win 30-7 or you win 62-7, you make a stronger case when you're sitting against Oregon in the final day. And unfortunately, Alabama could have beat Mississippi State on Saturday as many points as they wanted to.
Let me ask you a key question here. Television has millions of dollars riding on the playoffs, okay? And they'll probably make that money plus. But what if there was a lobbying effort to make sure behind the scenes, the TV people, who do you think they would want playing in the playoffs? They want the quarterbacks. That's where most of the excitement comes. That's where most of the watching comes. People staying with a game because any quarterback can take it down to the last minute and still win. It's the fun part of football to watch, and TVs know that. They would have loved to have had Tua as part of the playoff system, no doubt about it. Now that he's not, there certainly, if there was going to be any lobbying to get Alabama in the playoff system, that effort is not the same now as it would have been. And it might very well switch to Oregon. And I'm surprised that's going a bit far.
Well, no, I mean, right now you're right. And on top of that, too, let's not – the way Utah's playing, too. But, see, that's the thing is Utah is not the one that is going to sell the tickets. If Utah goes, that's a area they got good fans, people out there, decent people, but Utah's not going to – you get Utah versus LSU, that's not going to sell tickets.
No, it's not.
Oregon with Justin Herbert versus Joe Burrow would sell tickets.
That would sell
tickets.
Yeah.
So they know that. And let's already – at this point, I don't see anybody outside of Ohio State. Now, they got Michigan left. And even with – here's another scenario, Coach. Ohio State loses to Michigan. Because Michigan lost to Penn State already, and they also lost the game to Wisconsin. Even if Michigan beat Ohio State would still go to the title game. If Ohio State is a one-loss team, and they did lose to Michigan at the Big House, does that change the dynamics of them getting into that final spot, or a one-loss Ohio State based on winning out should be able to get in?
Well, I think they should be able to get in, and then they'll probably win out.
I don't think they're going to lose to Michigan. They're that good right now.
I don't think so. But if they did, let's play that scenario. They still have a conference championship game to go, and they play that and win it big.
Yeah,
that's going to take precedence over a one-loss.
And their body of work would be better at that point than any other one-loss team based on that. It's going to be exciting to see down the stretch. We're going to talk. We're going to hear from Nick Saban. We're going to get to more on the game itself. Coach, from Tua's standpoint, outside of just the Alabama Crimson Tide now, Do you feel after seeing these injuries, and you talked about Bo Jackson, this was the injury he suffered in some of the situations. Coach, you've seen it. You've been around the game for 40, 50 years of your life, and that's the kind of stuff that, regardless of what I think at 34 years old, you've coached around the NFL and college longer than I've been alive, and something – sorry to age you, by the way. I didn't mean to throw that out there. I'm just saying your experience. Okay. Your coach is like, all right, you young punk, but no, I'm just joking. But when it comes down to the game itself – do you think right now that Tua is going to be able to be back to being what we saw in Tua? If you had to say today, do you think that he's going to be able to be the same quarterback that we've seen his greatness in the NFL? Would you say yes or no?
Okay, now you and I have talked about, you're aware that throwing the football, very few people realize how much importance is placed on the hip flexion and the hip action. You really get the umph behind the football.
That's why Dak Prescott's doing that dance before the game, man.
Sure, you get a lot of it from the rotation, body rotation. Start with the hips. So, do I think he'll be back? Listen, I'm not in the game of medicine. I do know that there are better techniques now used in almost anything that could happen to you. Probably a better, quicker way to get healing now, as opposed to when Bo Jackson, which is quite a while back now, Bo Jackson had his injury. But will Tua be able? I don't think Tua will ever be able to have the same suddenness, because all that stems from the hips too. For example, trying to get out of the pocket. Can he slide in the pocket? And will he be able to slide and throw the football? Yeah, he'll be able to do that. He's going to have to, as a shorter guy. He's got to be able to do that. I think his ankles will heal up fine, and this is probably going to heal up better than anybody expects. I think he's going to be able to play again. And at what level? Listen, he's one of the best deep throw on the money dime throwers I've seen. He can put the ball on the money, on the dime, from 35, 40, 45 yards away. Amazing. Will he still be able to do that? I think at some point he's going to have to throw a lot and get back. It's going to take a lot of work to get back to this, but I really think he will. And this is one of the scenario that I've heard, which could be a benefit to him. Because of this, he's going to slide in the draft. It's just going to happen. Nobody's going to take someone because of that's had 4 surgeries in like 40-something games. You can't do it. So he slides, and the more he slides, what is he sliding into? He's sliding into better teams in the NFL. The poorer teams take people up front. Okay, so he's sliding into a better neighborhood, let's put it that way. What if he ended up sliding down to a very good football team with the reason they'd take it to us because they've got some lifespan questions on their quarterback, or some reason for wanting a quarterback like him, knowing that's going to take him probably another 1.5 to 2 years minimum to get him back to his top playing self, then he could slide to a good football team and have an outstanding career with a good team.
Coach, when you look at the way Tua plays, he's unique, and for his put all the Bama, the talks of national titles aside, the accolades, his accuracy, the way that he's played, and he's thrown a football in the NFL and in college, he's broken almost every Bama passing record when you talk about in-game individual records. But he also, because he's humble, he seems like a nice guy. And you also play for Alabama, which people, just like with New England, people want to discredit greatness because they play with a great team, even though when you look in the mirror, sometimes those guys created that aura. Coach, regardless of what happens with Tua's career, if this is his last game that he ever played against Mississippi State, last game with the Alabama Crimson Tide, which it could be, will you look at him as one of the all-time greats college football quarterbacks?
I will, because, very seldom have I seen, and I really admire quarterbacks that can do certain things, the big picture. And when I see his accuracy, especially on the deep ball. And I defy anybody. Tell me where I can go find tape of a quarterback laying the ball exactly on the spot over 25 yards downfield as many times as he does. I don't think they exist.
No.
I really don't. And I'm talking about NFL, too.
Who was the NFL comparable? Was there a guy, I know it's hard to compare sometimes, guys, but is there a quarterback?
Brady Rogers.
You would say that's the way he plays?
Well,
okay.
I'm saying the accuracy.
Okay.
Okay. And I don't know about all the intangibles. And
what about as a lefty, Steve Young? Would it be different types quarterbacks? Or?
Well, he's not going to be as mobile now with that hip but especially with the hip. He's not going to be as mobile as a Steve Young. Steve Young depended on his legs so much. Similar. Ken Stabler was a very accurate passer, but Kenny did not throw the ball down the field like this kid. He didn't have the deeper accuracy like this kid.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I think somewhere, you got to place him somewhere among the very best at throwing the ball down the field with accuracy.
Coach, with the names, because I respect the heck out of history of the game. I thought it was great yesterday. Joe Green was saying some comments about Aaron Donald revolutionizing the position he has up front in the game yesterday for the Rams against the Bears with his speed and quickness off the line. And he is truly the best defensive tackle in the game today, and that's become pretty clear the way he's played. But, Coach, I want to ask you, the names. We hear about the names, but I never got to watch outside of some NFL films. Unitas, Starr, some of those guys that you talk about in the record books. Who threw out of those guys, who was the best passer, just clear passer of the game? Maybe not all the accolades, the intangibles, but who of the guys that played in the 50s, 60s, 70s was just the best overall thrower?
Wow. Well, you ask a major. Let me tell you, nobody had the release and touch on the ball as Dan Marino.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
I mean,
I got to see the as a kid. Yeah,
he really could, and that ball came out of there too. When he threw it, it was not only a quick release, but it had the right spin on it, and he could cut through, the wind and whatever. Good. Excellent quarterback.
It looked like it was coming out of a machine to Clayton and Duper. Yeah. I mean, the way that was just perfect spiral laced in their hands.
And there's another guy that could have accuracy down the field, Marino, a lot like what we're talking about with Tua. I think, as far as a pure passer, you might not put Unitas in there as a pure passer. He was a very good passer.
He had some really good teams, too.
He had some good teams, but he was a good quarterback now, and in many ways, tough, hard-nosed, great competitor.
You knew Bart a little with Bart Starr.
Knew him quite well, and in fact, I almost came close to going to Green Bay with him, but he was very limited. Most people considered him a very limited passer. I tell you, who could just throw the ball with great arm was Sonny Jurgensen. I think he was wild and really didn't study the game like most quarterbacks today and whatever, but he could throw it. He could throw it through a brick wall. Joe Ferguson, my guy at Buffalo, could throw it well.
He was sitting here 2 weeks ago with me, and I talked to him now. I texted him yesterday when he was over, sent him out, and you had him on the show too, and he's living in Destin, and just a treat to have on the show. Joe Theismann. It's unfortunate what happened, obviously, with the injury, but he was one of those guys at Notre Dame and working his way up the way he played. And I thought it was fascinating, the stories you told of Joe Montana, because he wasn't looked at that way at the beginning of his career, but he found a way to make plays, So Brett Favre, if his ball was timed, how quickly he could throw a football,
he could throw it.
He could laser a ball through traffic.
He could throw it, yes, sir. He was a great passer.
It's like the clean version of Josh Allen, what he tries to do.
Yeah, and Favre could whip it. There's no doubt about that.
Well, when we come back, we'll talk some more on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Still hope. I mean, at this point, they're not out of it. We've seen crazier things in the last couple of weeks.
And let me tell you, people need to keep keep all their enthusiasm alive because, and let me tell you, Mac Jones is a good quarterback. Alabama's not there without a quarterback now. They've got a good quarterback. So they're going to rally around him. They're going to coach around him. They got a great coaching staff. They'll devise a great game plan, and those players will come to bat for their existing quarterback. You can bet on that.
It's the Roll Tide Radio Show brought to you by Gordon Auto Wholesale. When everybody else says no, they say yes. You can check them out right there on Old Palafox, just 2 blocks south of Airport. Give them a call today at 479-9200. Bad credit, no credit, doesn't matter. Don't sweat it. Eddie Gordon, lifelong Alabama fan, and the crew at Gordon Auto Wholesale can get you in the car of your dreams. Check them out today right there or visit them right there on North Palafox Street. Open till 5:30 today. Coming back for more. It's Roll Tide Radio on ESPN Pensacola.
When weather hits, the right wiper blades make all the difference. That's when the Michelin Man is on your side, helping you see better and drive safer with new Michelin Premium Wiper Blades. Designed with exclusive SmartFlex technology or frameless beam design, Michelin blades flex to the curve of your windshield, giving you unparalleled, streak-free, long-lasting, all-season performance. So when the going gets tough, be ready with Michelin Premium Wiper Blades. It's a difference you can see. Available at Walmart, Menards, Mills, and Plains.
This is a message for all parents. If you as an adult think it's tough being separated or divorced, have you truly stopped to consider how your being separated or divorced affects your children? How parents treat one another, either during or after divorce, can have lifelong effects on your children. Whether you are separated from your spouse or even actually divorced, in either situation, keep in mind that you and your spouse are parents forever. Hello, my name is Stephen T. Holman, and I am a family law attorney. If you have questions regarding custody, visitation, or child support, call me today for a free consultation at 435-6909. That's 435-6909.
Do you have frequent heartburn? Like the kind where you have antacid stashed everywhere in case it pops up? You know what I mean. You keep some in your bag or your desk or your car or your nightstand. You have those chalky tablets ready for whenever and wherever heartburn strikes. Well, listen up. There's an easier way to deal with your heartburn. Prilosec OTC. Just 1 pill a day will last a full 24 hours with zero heartburn. Kick your antacid habit. It's possible with Prilosec OTC.
Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
The Sports Drive with Chad Brillante is your drive home from work. Weekly interviews with legendary head coaches like Pat Dye from Auburn.
You had to have a lot of respect for that quarterback.
And Gene Stallings from Alabama.
They've thrown the ball quite a bit. They got excellent wide receivers.
In-studio guests, expert commentary. The Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. 5 till 7 every weekday afternoon on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
You're listening to Pensacola's home for hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM 99.1 FM.
And welcome back to Roll Tide Radio right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Alabama with a nice victory. They were up 35-7 at halftime. The injury to Tua Tagovailoa, the hip injury that now has him out, and it looks like at this point, if you don't know, everybody sort of today with cell phones and everything going on, unless you're at one of those concerts, comedy tours down there at the Sanger Theater, don't have your, first off, get your cell phone kicked out quickly. Pretty quickly. Paris Baker, one of my friends, and right there, Viva DePez, right there from our crew. Good guy and just one of the class acts. He's one of our police officers for the Pensacola Police Department, but he was down there. He's like, look, stop bringing your phones and videotaping things like comedy tours. Nobody wants to see that, and I don't want to take your phone. And I thought it was funny. People still were like, I should have my phone on me when I want. Like that lady that just completely went to town. It was like Catwoman right there outside of the New Orleans Saints Superdome. Man, I saw that in firsthand. She was wearing something that Cam Newton would wear, so let's get that off the table. And then she was walking in, but she had her Gucci or Louis Vuitton. It was one of those purses that you don't want to leave outside. And didn't look like the fake one, too, that you get in the back alley from some guy named Rico in New York City. So she's out there, and they had to tell her she had to leave her purse outside of the Superdome. And the next thing that went down was something I would not want to see any kids or any type of fight between like a lion and tiger that hadn't eaten for weeks. It was not cool. So, people understand that, and you shouldn't have to do that. But today, most people in the stadium, they got their cell phones on them, and they checked. And right after Tua got hurt, he was airlifted to Birmingham. Then he was taken out there and headed out to Houston and has hip surgery this morning. Let's just be real with the situation that we have. He's had 4 surgeries in the past year and a half. That's a lot. And it's not like a car where you can just go ahead and get some new good parts out there, grease up the old Red Dragon, and it'll be ready to ride. Look at this bad boy, getting it back to 97 on the highway. Don't do that. You'll get arrested. But I'm telling you, Tua is never going to be the same quarterback. I hope he can be one of those kind of quarterbacks because he's got the intangibles to make it work. But people quickly want to forget because the story, a healthy Tua versus LSU could have been a completely different game. He still was good enough to play, but he was 75 to 80%, and it was clear when he tried to take off on the first play and fumbled. Tried to take off down the field and fell, and the ball came out. A healthy guy that could turn isn't going to make that play. LSU still might have won the game, and so be it. They won the game, and they flat out deserve to be number 1 right now. Go Tigers, as Ed Ogeron would say. Did everything in their making to deserve that win, and their fans should celebrate it that way. But Tua right now, the injury is just unfortunate. And to blame Nick Saban for it is not something that, frankly, he wants to hear or, frankly, anybody should be doing at this point. This is what Nick Saban had to say, talking about the situation at hand after the injury to Tua after the game.
I know that everybody's most interested in Tua's situation. He has a hip injury. It's going to be evaluated. I don't think it's related to any other injury that he had. It's kind of a freak thing that, you seldom see. So I don't really have anything else to say about that. And we'll kind of go from there. I think Raekwon has a sprained ankle, and DJ Dale has a twisted knee or whatever. A couple other guys beat up. Ruggs came out with bruised ribs. We'll see where that takes us, and so that's about it from the injury standpoint. But I was really pleased with the way our guys prepared all week and the way they came out and played in the game.
Speak up so we can hear you. Coach, you had mentioned all week that Tua was a game-time decision. What went into that decision?
Well, we felt like if he could move in pregame, which we took him out before pregame, before the team ever went out, worked him out. He was good. He was at least as good as he was a week ago in terms of his ability to move. And I didn't think that anything that he did affected his performance, in this game in the first half. And so the guy played, and I thought he played really well. And, we hate it that he got injured. We hate it for him. We hate it for his family. I hate it if any player on our team gets injured. Godspeed to him and his entire family, and our thoughts and prayers are with him, and hope this is not so serious that it has any long-term effect on his, future as a player. I really don't know the severity of what he has. We're going to take him to Birmingham and do CAT scans and MRIs and find out. And, we can second-guess ourselves, all we want. We told Mac to warm up. we're going to go 2-minute for the half, 2-1 to play in the game. And so, I don't really make a lot of decisions based on, worrying about guys getting hurt, or I'd have taken Raekwon out and Ruggs out and everybody else that got hurt today out. We have total confidence in Mac, and I thought Mac did a good job when he went in the game. I can't hear the question.
He said value of putting him into that situation, talking about 2 minutes.
Look, the way I looked at this whole thing is Tua's our number one quarterback. If he's physically able to play, we wanted to play him in the game. That's what he wanted to do, and that's what our team wanted to do. If I would knowing that anything bad was going to happen, I certainly wouldn't have put him in that situation. But, we're a team, and we're a team that's trying to get better in the long term, in the long run, to see, if we can finish the season the way we want. And, I hate it that the guy got hurt.
With Landon and the personal fouls, obviously you want him to be aggressive. How does he kind of teach that?
Well, it's the same old stuff. We had a couple of those today. I mean, you want guys to play with great emotion. You don't want them to be emotional and make bad decisions. And we need to do a better job of that. I mean, the penalties have been a problem, and it's very disappointing to me that we can't make better decisions about when the whistle blows to stop playing. So we'll just keep working on it. I'm obviously, we're emphasizing it. I don't think anybody wants to get a penalty. I just think people have to make better decisions about what they do so that they don't get penalties.
Offensively, very good at third and longs and when in general when pinned behind the chains. Why is this offense not saved when it's pinned behind the chains?
We need a microphone or something, man.
Sorry, he just said the offense in third and long performed very good. What about that?
That's been something that we've done a good job of all year long. We don't really want to create those situations, and especially in this game because, we felt like that's their MO as a team, try to give you negative plays, try to get you in third and long. And then they got a pretty exotic third down package of a lot of odd different pressures that, they try to heat you up with. And so we were trying to avoid those situations today. But I know we overcame some, and some of them were caused by penalties and, things of that nature that, we need to do a better job of keeping ourselves out of those kind of situations. I think when you have skilled guys like we do, it always gives us an opportunity to make explosive plays. I know the very first drive they played cover 2 on third and long and hit Jerry on the middle read down the middle for an explosive play. So, I just think that our players recognize what they're in, and I thought we did a good job of converting some of those situations today, which were, real key for us.
Speak up on questions really loud, please. What did you tell Mac Jones when he came in the second half, and then how do you evaluate his performance?
I thought Mac played well. I talked to Mac last night, and I talked to Tua last night. Both they knew exactly how we were going to play this game today, relative to how Tua was before the game, and Mac was good with it, and I thought Mac did a good job in the game. I thought he had the right mindset. He practiced well all week, and I think he was well prepared for the game, and we had confidence in him to go in and play the game.
Kurt, Coach Najee Harris had 4 touchdowns today.
Yeah, Najee's played really well. I thought he played great last week. I thought he played really well today. I think his confidence level is really, he's gained confidence all year long. The more he plays, the more success he has. He's running the plays very efficiently and effectively. He's a hard guy to tackle. He's a really good receiver. And he's just done a really, really good job. And I'm really pleased with the way he's played the last couple weeks.
Time for a couple more. Speak up, guys. Go ahead.
Coach, you had the early turnover on defense, and the front line seemed to have some good pressure on the quarterback. Talk about the way the defensive unit played today.
Well, we gave up a couple explosive runs. both of them were on pressure type calls. You know, when you run the quarterback running plays, read sweep cue powers, quarterback draws, those types of things, if you don't have extra backers in the box all the time, if everybody doesn't get their gap, you know, you get gashed. And it happened to us twice today, and they had long runs. But other than those two things, I thought we played really well on defense. We played with a lot of discipline. Everybody sort of, you know, took who they were supposed to. They were supposed to close, scrape, whatever. I mean, we did that really, really well and controlled the line of scrimmage a little bit better. I thought we tackled better in the game today. So I thought all in all we played really well. We didn't give up, other than the couple runs I was talking about, we didn't give up any explosive plays, which I think is a real key when you play an offense like this. We were great. You know, the players had a great attitude. I think they came here with a sense of purpose in terms of what they wanted to accomplish and what they wanted to do. And I don't think it made a lot of difference who we were playing today. They wanted to try to, you know, go out and compete. And, you know, I think they had about enough of, you know, all the talk. And they just wanted to go out and play and compete and get back on the field and do something positive. And I thought a lot of guys did a good job of doing that today. And we had a great mindset before the game. Thank you.
And there was Nick Saban talking about mostly Tua. You could tell he knew he was going to answer those questions, so sort of had to take it. Usually he did say at the beginning, and this is what I'm saying about it, and that's all I want, but you knew the next thing that was going to happen was going to be questions. And it was the hot topic, obviously, in that situation. You came into the game as an 18-point favorite. People probably thought that spread wasn't enough. Mississippi State is not a good football team this year. Even Starkville fans know they need a little more cowbell. And in that one, it was pretty clear that Alabama was going to win the game, but losing Tua, it means a lot more than just one game, because the committee are human beings. And if you had to put now in Oregon, or if Utah wins, or even, frankly, if Oklahoma finds a way, even though they don't pass the eye test currently, but if they were to win their conference with one loss, it's easier to make the case that, hey, a non-conference, even division champion with one loss without Tua shouldn't get in, and we can't say without your star quarterback you're going to look the same. And frankly, in the second half, when you win 3-0, regardless of if you're going to run out the clock or not, it doesn't bode well. Mac Jones isn't a bad quarterback, but 7 for 11, 94 yards just doesn't have that wow factor. And as Coach K said earlier today on the show, quarterbacks sell. Herbert versus Burrow will sell tickets. Tua versus Burrow Part 2 on a neutral site would have sold tickets. Not so much Mac Jones now. And it hurts in so many ways, and frankly, Bama fans understand that. A lot of people aren't going to argue that Oregon or Utah, even if they won, I would still favor a Mac Jones Alabama team today by probably 6 or 7 points. Not guaranteed, but I would still favor him based on the rest of the team of 5 stars around him. But still, it's going to be hard to convince anybody, especially when the athletic director, Rob Mullins, is the Oregon athletic director, and he's in charge of the committee, up there with Bill Hancock. It's going to be tough, and it was one of those kind of games, and Saban understands that. You could see that. It was a little bit of a down. He understood what was happening in that situation. Still, go out and beat a team like Auburn in the Iron Bowl, and we'll see. We can all sit back and enjoy the popcorn, just like the Florida State head coaching search. We're coming back for more Roll Tide Radio here on ESPN Pensacola.
When weather hits, the right wiper blades make all the difference. That's when the Michelin Man is on your side, helping you see better and drive safer with new Michelin Premium Wiper Blades. Designed with exclusive SmartFlex technology or frameless beam design, Michelin blades flex to the curve of your windshield, giving you unparalleled, streak-free, long-lasting, all-season performance. So when the going gets tough, be ready with Michelin Premium Wiper Blades. It's a difference you can see. Available at Walmart, Menards, Mills, and Plains.
No. This can't be it.
Mike, your team's in the lead. They just scored.
No, you don't understand. This is the last Cheez-It.
There's...
No, listen, I don't know what to do. The game's on. The score is close. There's plenty of drinks to go around. But what's the point if there's no Cheez-It snacks?
Man, if you would just...
The cheesy, crunchy, satisfying perfection. It's all gone after this. Thank you, my little delicious square.
Dude, there's more in the kitchen.
I love you.
You're still talking to the cracker, aren't you?
Cheez-It, official sponsor of the college football playoff.
Well, I finally did it. My student loan is totally paid off.
What?
What about our plan to win the lottery and start living? You know, travel the world on matching yachts, wear enough jewelry to require a bodyguard, vacation on the French Riviera, and then buy it.
You know we're never going to win the lottery, right?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs, the Florida Society of CPAs, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Pensacola's home for hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
And welcome back, Roll Tide Radio, right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Chad Brillante with you here. Glad to be with you here as we get set to go for another exciting day around the world of college football. For Alabama fans, obviously, tough ending to what was a game where they had a shot to get the victory and also keep their quarterback. And all the talks of Nick Saban and the decision being made, that's not anything that we can sit here and say that is their fault. That is something unfortunate that happened. And if you're an Alabama fan, you know, you got to trust Nick Saban, the decisions that have been made. He's the kind of guy that has only done the right thing over the last couple of years when it comes to winning titles, the decisions being made. Remember, the ultimate decision to pull a guy like Jalen Hurts at halftime and put a Tua into the game. Every decision he's made in the critical moment has been a positive one. However, it's one that it's easy to say now, Tua getting hurt. But down the road, you had a quarterback and guy winning 52-3 that they pulled Trevor Lawrence right at the start of the fourth. There were many moments like that. So it wasn't just the case with Tua. Talking about what Nick Saban said, you know, one of the key parts as we talked about it, as he broke it down, and, you know, really one of those kind of things that you want to go back to, some of the ones that really stood out, talking about the win and stuff like that, is remember, you know, listen to what Nick has to say at this point when he was talking about the injury. One of the parts where really I hope people understood that if he could have gone back and talked about it and done it over again, he would have. And this is what Nick was saying about that.
That's what our team wanted to do. If I would knowing that anything bad was going to happen, I certainly wouldn't have put him in that situation. But, you know, we're a team, and we're a team that's trying to get better in the long term, in the long run, to see, you know, if we can finish the season the way we want. And, you know, I hate it that the guy got hurt.
There's not much more he could say at that point. There's only so much you could say that at that point it was going to be, I mean, he got hurt. It's unfortunate for him because he could have been the number one pick regardless of all the noise and what Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert's doing. Tua was still in the mix to be the number one overall player pick. The beginning of the season, it was, remember, the tank for Tua. Everybody had already deemed it as what Miami, Cincinnati, with the Washington Redskins, and everybody was fighting for the tank for Tua sweepstakes. And now, you know, after the injury, it's unfortunate. They've got to move forward. Mac Jones will be the guy going forward, and it's not over yet. We know at this point LSU, Ohio State, Clemson look good. Georgia's in that position. If Georgia wins out, then they're in. And more than likely then that's the scenario that you say, does LSU get in over a Oregon, a Utah, an Oklahoma with one loss? And the answer is probably yes. Look, the Baylor and Minnesota sweepstakes was going to hit a wall. Nobody saw it being 28-3, although I do like that score as a Pats fan. I'm not going to say anybody saw the way Baylor was going to lose, 28-3 lead and the way that went down. But I will say that we expected Baylor and Minnesota to fall. I picked both Oklahoma and Iowa this week to win, and I wasn't going out on a limb. Both of them were favorites over the two undefeated teams. Michigan's got 2 losses. Oregon and Utah. Oregon would be a better pick by the committee based on that. Not that Utah's not playing great football right now, but look, image sells, brand sells, and a Utah versus Ohio State, or a Utah versus outside of I guess you could call it the former Urban Meyer Bowl, but outside of that, that's not going to sell a lot of tickets. That's exactly what we've been getting with the Michigan State's, the Washington game, a game where you know the team's going to win by 28 and then move on to the next round. What they would like to see is LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, and either Georgia or Alabama, or maybe Oregon with the outside because of the Herbert factor. Those are the teams. Even Oklahoma this year, the way they're playing no defense, I think most people from the mindset of, are they a contender? When you play in a game where you're losing and you have a chance to lose on a 2-point conversion at home to an all right Iowa State team, and then the next week you're down 28-3, and you have to battle back to come back and win. Nice win. A lot of heart from Jalen Hurts, Lincoln Riley, and that whole Oklahoma squad. But from the eye test right now, they're not one of the top 4 teams in the country. Losing to Kansas State the week before. Their last couple games, lost to Kansas State, just barely beat Iowa State on the final play, a 2-point conversion, and then also lose a game or win a game that you're down 28-3 to Baylor is not telling the country that you're one of the top 4 teams. They're still in the mix. Still a lot of football. But Alabama's still not out, although unfortunately it's going to take a lot of other teams around them to start to lose. They need to hope for a Pac-12 team to lose in the regular season and then to have 2 losses and then win the conference title. Because it looks like it's going to be Oregon and Utah. But they're going to hope that an Oregon or a Utah lost the game down the stretch and then wins the conference title game. So the winner of the Pac-12 title has 2 losses. They're going to hope that Michigan can beat Ohio State and then that the winner of that that Big Ten title game is somebody with 1 or 2 losses. Same thing with an Oklahoma. They need all of a sudden what went from, hey, Georgia and Alabama and LSU, 2 of those 3 teams have a legit shot to get in, now doesn't feel the same. And it's unfortunate, but that's the scenario we have today. So it was more than just a loss for Tua, a loss for right now the image of where the college football playoff. And I think it wouldn't have mattered this week. Let's be real. Georgia just beat Auburn. They were going to get one of those spots. It was going to be LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, and Georgia as the final 4 teams right now. As of today or Tuesday's committee, that's where we would have sat. So it would not have mattered whether or not Tua was hurt or not. They wouldn't have taken Georgia after a win against Auburn. A convincing win. The final score 21-14, a little different, but a convincing win would have been a little different. Coming back for more. It's Roll Tide Radio, brought to you by Gordon Auto Wholesale. When everybody else says no, they say yes. Right here, ESPN Pensacola, coming back for more.
Gordon Auto Wholesale says yes. No credit, bad credit, bankruptcies, no problem. Over 250 vehicles in stock. Third-row SUVs and trucks. Everyone's approved. Gordon Auto Wholesale is the bank and can help you get into a nice, clean vehicle. Carfax checked. Need a new car? Gordon Auto says yes. Can't buy one from the other dealers? Come see Gordon Auto Wholesale on Palafox, just 2 blocks south of Airport. Or call 479-9200. That's 479-9200.
You wanted a toy at the store when you were a kid. Mom said no. You wanted a date as a teenager. The homecoming queen said no. Now, as an adult, you want a car. And all the dealers keep saying no. Finally, there's someone in Pensacola who will say yes. It's Gordon Auto Wholesale on Old Palafox, just 1 block south of Airport Boulevard. Now with a huge selection of third-row SUVs in stock. No credit, bad credit, repos, no problem. Say yes to Gordon Auto Wholesale. Call them at 850-479-9200, 479-9200, and hear yes right now.
There's a lot going on right now, and broadcasters are on the ground covering all of it, bringing you the weather, the traffic, and breaking news, all while entertaining you 24 hours a day. Someone needs to tell you what's going on around the world and in our hometowns. And that someone is us. We are free radio. We are always there. We are broadcasters. Visit wearebroadcasters.com or text radio to 52886 to learn more. Furnished by NAB and this station.
Talk football every day with Pensacola's own Coach K.
Credit a great performance by Garoppolo. And I love the way he throws the football. He's got all the things going for him.
Every weekday, noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1. Welcome to ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1. Pensacola's home to the best talk in sports, new and improved. We are ESPN Pensacola, 1330 and FM 99.1.
You're listening to Pensacola's home for hometown sports. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back. Roll Tide Radio. Chad Brillante with you right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Sometimes a song plays and, you break it down of why. Well, the only reason this is playing is because the Alabama fight song all of a sudden got frozen with the pinwheel. So Disney Tunes was still there, and that's what we're playing. Magical moment. Nice win right there, 38-7 by the Alabama Crimson Tide. They were up 35-7 at halftime, and then 3-0 in the second half. Mac Jones. Some of the highlights of the game is obviously the Tua situation taking over, but when it comes down to the way the game went down, the overall result, it was one of those kind of things where we got to understand that this was an unfortunate situation. Let's stop throwing out. You can say what you want. You can feel however you want if you're saying Nick Saban should have had him out of the game. Yeah, it's easy to say that now. But those same people also would have argued if they would have pulled Tua, man, we need every point we can get. Watching Mac Jones, and let's say they would have scored 3 at halftime. And the final score was 38-7. It's 35-0 at one point. If Tua would have continued to play, you might have had a game that was 62-7. And then people go, whew, he's dominated a team in the SEC. Might make a bowl game. That's pretty awesome right there. Mississippi State's a decent team, man. I mean, they went out there. They played with some teams hard this year. Whew, that's a big blowout right there. It's hard to take that team out. But now that's not going to happen. Jerry Jeudy with 7 catches, 114 yards, looking dominant. And right now still the thing that's in favor of Alabama is they still have a marquee game. And Auburn losing to Georgia didn't help, but also Auburn played against a Georgia team tough. They played tough against Georgia, and enough to say, you know what, that team has a shot. That's a legit football team. I don't think anybody watching that game against Georgia felt like Auburn was a bad football team. Now, Georgia looked better for the most part, and the way that Auburn battled back. But even with 3 losses, think about who they lost to. At Florida, at LSU, and lost at home to Georgia. 97% of the country, you put that on their resume, and they're going to lose. So Auburn wants to win those games. They would like to win at least one of the 3. These are hostile environments. These are not easy. And if they lose to Alabama even, you finish 8-4 and you lose to LSU, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida, nobody's going to fault you this year. I hope not. It's like the Texas A&M talk. Texas A&M is just going out there doing their business and winning games that they're supposed to at 7-3. But they lost to Clemson, they lost to Alabama, and they lost to Auburn. Those are okay losses. They'll probably lose to LSU too. And they'll probably lose to Georgia. So they might finish 7-5, and that's not going to look good. But that's the scenario of where you're at right now. And that's where we have to be realistic with where you're at. The Alabama Crimson Tide right now sitting there with a shot, and it's not over yet. But the injury to Tua at this point, Kirk Herbstreit talked about it today. It looks like right now he's out for the season. If anybody's asking, he is out for the season. That's official. It's going to be one where he's going to be out for a while. This is not he can rush back even if lucky. This is months upon months to be able to recover and hopefully become a quarterback. Because remember, it's the same injury, different position, but same injury. that Bo Jackson ended his career with a hip injury that never was able to return. And unfortunate for that situation. That's all the time we have for Roll Tide Radio. We appreciate it. Brought to you by Gordon Auto Wholesale. Crimson Tide with the 38-7 win, now 9-1, 2 games left. 11 o'clock kickoff against Western Carolina on ESPN News, and also the matchup coming up here with Auburn in 2 weeks, right around Thanksgiving, against number 12 in the country. 2:30 kickoff, the next 2 games. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. For all of us here, for Coach K. Stevenson, I'm Chad Brillante. Thank you for listening to Roll Tide Radio, brought to you by Gordon Auto Wholesale, and prayers for Tua.
Our website at ESPNpensacola.com.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.